Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of What Do You Think? My name is Bill Morse, and today's date is Thursday, May 13th, 2021. And I kind of wonder why you're not outside. I would be outside. The weather is beautiful. Very grateful for spring, but not summer, coming into southern Vermont. So hopefully you've spent some time outside today enjoying the fresh air, the sunshine, and the warmer temperatures that we've been blessed with over the last 24 hours. I kind of like it because I don't spend money on electricity for AC, and I don't spend money on propane for heating. This is kind of like the soft spot between winter and summer where you're not spending a lot of money on utilities. And if you're a homeowner or a landlord, you can appreciate that. And being a homeowner, I appreciate that very, very much. So, a lot of things to go over today. We will be on the air from 4:45 roughly until 6:30 from now on. 45-minute program. And as always, the emphasis is on you, the viewer, calling in with your insight, questions to answers, or answers to questions that come up during the program. And we try to bring in a little of this and that to make it interesting and have some appeal for most of the people who might be watching. So, I want to give a quick shout out to Kurt, who has been a caller into this program. Kurt is going through a difficult time right now, and I ask you for your prayers. He runs a company, a lighting company, and if you have anything to do with electronics, you know that American-made electronics have had a very tough time with competition from overseas, especially from China, where there are few environmental regulations and fewer employee protections. And so whereby you might work for $15 or $16 an hour here, somebody doing the same job in China will work for $2 an hour. So you can understand why so many jobs, especially electronic jobs, have gone over and have come back with the stamp made in China. In my personal opinion, to our detriment, to the detriment of our economy. But we don't make the trade bargains. That's decided on a higher up level with people who hopefully know more about trade situations and internationally than you and I do. But anyway, Kurt heads a small company with 30 employees. They manufacture lighting products. They used to manufacture exit lights, but overseas they were able to make those exit lights for 1/5 the cost due to labor. So I wish Kurt well. He is in the hospital right now facing a blood clot situation, circulation situation in his leg. And I pray and I hope that it's resolved through the simplest means possible and that he does not have to lose his leg. So let's keep a prayer for Kurt. He has, as I said, 20 to 30 employees. They are treated as family, and the company has been going 20 to 30 years. When Kurt leaves, the company will probably break up because of the competition situation from overseas. Also, the taxation situation in the state where Kurt's company is located. So again, just a shout out to Kurt. Keep you in our prayers. Kurt has called in the program a number of times, a very good insight from a business perspective, from an employer's perspective, and we certainly appreciate hearing from him, someone who actually pays a payroll to people, pays bills, and pays taxes. So God bless you, Kurt, and God bless the 20 to 30 employees that you keep busy making lighting products that our country needs. So again, shout out to Kurt. Also, I want to give a brief report. I was in Philadelphia the last couple of days. Carla, who is my partner, still has a row house in Philadelphia. So we go down there once a month. And good news in Philadelphia is that fewer people are going around with masks. Kind of looked like zombie apocalypse a month or so earlier, with everybody with their face up to their eyes covered. Not too much contact going on, free and easy. Philadelphia, one of the things that attracted me to the city, and kind of a reason that I invested there and rehabbed a row house, was that in spite of Philadelphia being a city of over 1.7, 1.8 million people, strangers do talk to you. They have eye contact between strangers. And there's an free and easy talk. And it doesn't matter what color skin you have. All right, what this is doesn't matter. Of course, with the rhetoric over the last couple of years that has changed, there's perhaps a little more tension. People are looking at the news, which often can be divisive. So that has changed a bit, but the mask has just exacerbated social interchange, and so that is why I am happy people are wearing less of the masks. I see fewer masks on children, 2 to 3 years old. I don't know why a 3-year-old would have a mask on, but it's not my decision. It's the parents' decision. You're seeing fewer of that, more people enjoying the nicer weather, breathing in oxygen, such as it is in Center City, Philadelphia, and enjoying the sunshine and the fresh air, and building up their immune system, not depending on drugs. All right, that's it on that subject. Anyway, Philadelphia report. Oh, around the corner from Carla's place is Carla's place. It's not a bar, it's where she lives. Around the corner from Carla's place is a senior center on what used to be the Moyamensing prison grounds. Moyamensing prison was a large prison in southeast Philadelphia. They had their last execution by electrocution, 1963. The prison, which looked like a National Guard outpost or a fort, what do we call that? An armory, like what we have apartments for here in Bellows Falls on Westminster Street, was torn down in 1968. And what do you think they built there in its place? And I'll give you 10 seconds while I put a lozenge in my mouth. Why would you tear down a 150-year-old prison built like a fort with brownstone? What would you replace it with in 1968? Any idea? Come on, it's not that hard. If you say a parking lot, you are partially right. It has something to do with commerce. I'll make it easier for you. It has something to do with commerce that you participate in maybe every few days. You're right, an Acme supermarket. And next to this Acme supermarket with an acre of parking, which the local businesses appreciate because people park there to do their shopping as well. You have this 1970 style bunker looking red cinder block senior center. And one of the things I do like about the design is there's a garden in front of this senior center. Little Philadelphia side note, there was an alcove by the entrance to this red cinder block senior center built in roughly 1970. And a homeless couple was camped out there last year in the summer for I'd say about a month. And I guess they were able to find them a place to stay elsewhere And what do you think the city did with that alcove? I'll give you 10 seconds to think of what a large American city would do with an open space. Tell me. An open space that other people had used as a home. Come on, it's not too hard. Think. What would you do with open space here in Bellows Falls, North Walpole, Saxons River, Springfield, wherever the hell you are? What would you do with open space other than park your car? Plant a garden? Find place to store stuff? No, you would put a fence around it, which is exactly what the city of Philadelphia did. They put a fence or a barricade around the alcove so that not only can you not approach the building or the front door to the senior center, you can't get any shelter if the gate is locked. You are out in the rain, snow, or whatever the weather is doing. So they put a gate up. Anyway, fast forward to this past week. There is a garden in front, which is maintained by volunteers. And I like to look at the garden to see what people do because every season is different. And there are nice flowers. And when you're talking about an urban environment, I love architecture, but I like trees as well. And colored plants like the ones you see behind me. I don't even know what they're called, but I think there's some marigold sunflowers behind me on the right. Anyway, a group of concerned citizens took over one section of the garden and gave it a theme. What theme do you think this group of young volunteers in the neighborhood, I'm assuming, what theme do you think they would give this garden that they are cultivating in front of the senior center in this part of Philadelphia? You have 10 seconds to think of an answer. Call in. Come on, lift that finger. This is a two-way street. I don't like hearing myself speak all the time, and I'm sure you either turn off, switch to another channel, or go out and play baseball or something. Throw the frisbee. But since you're there in front of me, what theme do you think these younger people gave to the garden in front of the senior center? 3, 2, 1. Solitary confinement. The theme was prisoners that have been put in solitary confinement. Now, I'm not sure the connection between flowers, plants, solitary confinement for non-compliant behavior in a prison, but that was the theme according to the sign that was on this fence around the garden. I know of 2 people who have spent time in solitary confinement, and I thought, I wonder if they know the same person. Both of these people are YouTube posters. I'm going to give you their names if you're interested in learning more about their experiences, not only behind bars in a state and a federal institution, but also what it's like to spend 6 months in solitary confinement with a book of your choice. One of these gentlemen chose the Bible and read the Bible 5 times during his 6 months of solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is you're in a small room that is smaller than most people's closets. There is no natural light. There's a chrome pot for you to take care of your bodily needs. Also, in many places, you use that same chrome pot to wash up. You have a towel, toilet paper, obviously, and your meals are shoved through a door. And for 6 months, there is silence. So, the only voices are the ones between your 2 ears. So 2 people I would pass along, and I would encourage you if you're interested in prison life here in this country, state or federal, and solitary confinement, first guy is Barricade Garage. Barricade as in barrier, Barricade Garage. He's a good auto mechanic now in Virginia. Barricade Garage on YouTube. And the other person's name is Big Herc. Bigherc, Big Herc. He has also spent time in prison. Both these gentlemen, I would say, are stand-up people in their communities. Big Herc is somewhere in Arizona. I forget exactly where. I believe he moved from California because of all the BS going on there right now with regulations and attempted government control over different aspects of people's lives. Anyway, just a personal note. Barricade Garage and Big Herc as in Hercules. So anyway, I left that information with the ladies, and hopefully there is something behind this theme of solitary confinement and the garden that can bear fruit and actually be beneficial. I think many people would think twice if they knew what the experience was like with prisons that are not only confined locations, but wings that are under gang control. And you either man up or you're taken advantage of for the time that you're there. So, anyway, certainly not worth screwing up. So, anyway, I want to share with you 2 articles from the flea market find across the street from the entrance to the high school, the old St. Johnsbury Trucking Depot. 2 more articles from the Springfield Bellows Falls Times Reporter, dated Wednesday, March 16th, 2021. Oh, not 2021, because this newspaper doesn't exist anymore. 1966, although I think if you read between the lines, you'll see a lot of 2021 in 1966. But I'll let you be the judge of that. First article, short, because I don't like being read to. I'm sure you don't like being read to. Or if you go to church, you don't like when the priest or the pastor reads from the pulpit. Drives me nuts. I'd rather he just speak and make mistakes like I am right now. Anyway, on page 2, March 16th, it was Wednesday, 1966. House debates $13.1 billion more for Vietnamese war. That's $13 billion with a B in 1966 dollars. Give you a clue about 1966 dollars. In 1966, you could buy a ranch in Walpole across the river for about $5,000. $5,000 would get you a little 1-acre ranch with a ranch-style home, 4 rooms, insulated, newly built, $5,000. If you're a smoker, you could get a carton of cigarettes. A carton of cigarettes in 1966 for $2.37. $2.37, not for a pack, but for a carton of cigarettes. So, you can figure out what somebody would make an hour in 1966, but inflation has a way of changing numbers. Anyway, all these articles, like they are today, are from Associated Press. So even then, in 1966, there was a monopoly on your news source. Most newspapers depended on the Associated Press for their news statewide, nationally, and internationally. So this is an Associated Press news article. 3 bills to finance the mounting U.S. war effort in Vietnam won solid votes of approval in Congress Tuesday in a series of rapid-fire actions after President Johnson, who took over the White House after President Kennedy was assassinated November 22nd, 1963. Rapid actions after President Johnson signed another measure already passed. A lot of things going on here. Johnson signing legislation authorizing $4.8 billion with a B to be spent for military hardware, calling anew on Peking, China, Beijing, we say nowadays, and Hanoi. Hanoi was the capital of North Vietnam, to finally abandon their hopeless attempts at conquest. In other words, the communists in the north of Vietnam, it's one country, wanted to take over the south. They've been trying to do this since the 50s. Vietnam was a French colony. The North Vietnamese, the Vietnamese kind of kicked them out. The French could not win or keep control of the country. And so, guess whose laps Vietnam fell into? Our laps. It goes on to say that within 3 hours after Congress rushed him the measure, Johnson signed the Vietnam War tax bill. Who do you think was paying for this war with billions of dollars? Cigarette tax? I don't know. Tax on liquor? I don't know. Your income tax? Tax on businesses? Small businesses, not big ones. Tax on small businesses? Yeah, probably. He said, and this is President Johnson in 1966, he said, "It is the right measure at the right moment." As for future tax increases, he told the dozen or so witnesses at the night ceremony. See, they sign this stuff in the middle of the night. Notice that if you pay attention to the news, the stuff gets signed and passed at 2 a.m. This was night ceremony. They don't keep banking hours. That the future is too uncertain to make predictions, but the president added, don't worry, this administration stands ready to act when action is needed, if it is needed. Now, 1966, you got a lot of things happening. Again, 1966, 2021, you have the Vietnam War. You have civil rights, which is trying to deal with segregation, although that seems to be coming back voluntarily. I don't understand that, but that's for another program. Against segregation, against Jim Crow laws in the South, fighting all that, housing discrimination, redlining, insurance, whereby certain areas you can't get insurance, or if you can, it's very high because of where it is geographically. So you got a lot of issues. Plus, Johnson was fighting a war on poverty. This was essentially when welfare was vamped up, in which, and this is where mothers, single moms, having children and being paid a certain tax benefits when they have these children and there's no man in the house. This is when this started kicking in, welfare. So anyway, a lot of things going on, and it was frankly too much. Speaking of civil rights, I remember when Dr. Martin Luther King said, we want integration into your society, into the American life stream, but the house is on fire. How can we be equal partners in a house on fire? And for many people, with the decline of cities, with businesses leaving, taxation for the military-industrial complex, it was a lot of stuff that's happening again today. And he says, the house is on fire, let's deal with that. And that's where MLK got in trouble. He started fighting Johnson over the war in Vietnam, because it wasn't just whites. There were a lot of blacks fighting in the war in Vietnam, losing their lives. We lost 50,000 people in Vietnam, 50,000. Blacks and whites, Puerto Ricans, everybody who could not get out went. So it was a house on fire. There were a lot of things going on. It was a moment of truth. And if we didn't deal with it then, we're certainly going to have to now. Anyway, the other article is interesting, dealing with the Vietnam War. Draft card burner sentenced. Again, this is the Associated Press. David J. Miller, who was 23 years of age, received a 3-year suspended sentence Monday for burning his draft card. You remember some women were burning their bras as a sign of defiance before a male-dominated society. Well, you had people burning draft cards. There was a draft at one time when you had to register with Selective Service and let you know that, yes, I am alive, I am ready for a physical, and if need be, I will go to Vietnam or I will serve wherever I need to. Federal Judge Harold Tyler also placed Miller on 2 years probation, saying he did not want to create a myth of martyrdom. Those are his words, a myth of martyrdom, by sending Miller to jail. Well, if you sent Miller to jail, you'd probably make a career criminal out of him. That may have been part of the reasoning. Miller could have received a maximum 5-year term, which I'm sure looked good on paper, and a $10,000 fine. I don't think he could have afforded a $10,000 fine, not when it costs $5,000 to buy a little ranch house in Walpole. Miller was found guilty of destroying his draft card last October 15th, 1965, if you happen to be around. He said he was protesting the Selective Service system, or the draft, and U.S. policy in Vietnam. Judge Tyler made it a condition of probation that Miller get a draft card, a new one, and keep particularly in mind that you are to obey all directives of whatever local board has jurisdiction over your file, your location. If Miller should serve in the armed forces, however, his probation would be lifted. What are the chances? What odds do you want to lay that he eventually wound up serving? Maybe he did. Miller, a former resident of Syracuse, New York, gave his address as 175 Christie Street in Lower Manhattan. It's the Lower East Side. I've been on Christie Street. The office of the Catholic Worker Movement to which he belongs. Catholic Worker Movement, many people are going to say communists, socialists. I'm not going to go that far without doing a little research, but the Catholic Church at that time did have more, let's say, left of center support than it does now. It's interesting. Anyway, that's that. I thought it would be interesting to kind of take that step. Now, speaking of civics, I did receive word from David Carl, who's the spokesperson, has been the spokesperson for our Senator Patrick Leahy the last 25 years. I'm going to ask you to include in your prayers and your thoughts the senator's wife, Marcelle Leahy. They've been man and wife for a long time. I think Senator Leahy got it right the first time. So Marcelle Leahy, she is undergoing cancer treatment, or she is starting. So I wish you to keep her in your prayers. I did get some feedback on our questions. I'm going to briefly go over them. There will be more questions, and there will be more feedback either from David Carl, the spokesperson for Senator Leahy, or from the good senator himself. Interesting, David Carl, as I said, has been with the senator 25 years. He's trained as a journalist. His big thing, and I share this with him, so there's some empathy between us, is teaching children, students, civics and geography and history. We have lost that, and I think part of the reason we have so much disconnect between younger people and how government works, how the process works, for better or worse, is they have been poorly instructed on how civics from local board of selectmen or select people to city council to local representative in the House or Senate of a state government to state senators too and state Congress people. We have one, Mr. Welch. And then finally, our president and vice president, along with the three branches of government. I don't think we have a lot of adults that understand the separation of powers, and if you look at government over the last 20 years, you'll see that some of the people in charge don't seem to understand or do not want to understand the difference in different areas of power, judicial, legislative, and the executive. Three that supposedly balance themselves off. They're checks and balances so that one side does not usurp or take up all the power. Anyway, we share that concern. If you're in education, hopefully you do as well. If you're looking at curriculum, let's bring back history from a neutral standpoint. No narratives, no agendas, just what happened and how our government is structured. If you don't like how it's structured, how are you going to change it if you don't know what it's like now and how it works and how it falls short? Anyway, he talked a little bit about bills, and one of the questions was immigration, and according to David, the senators had worked and succeeded in securing a bipartisan bill to finally put a framework into immigration, how someone can legally come to this country and become a citizen. That seems to be up in the air with lots of question marks. The bill failed because there was not a supermajority, in other words, not a majority in either side, either political party. So anyway, that is vague, and I'm hoping to get more information from the office of Senator Lay, because we did have specific questions, not on just on how bills are made or how they are constructed, but also why our gasoline prices have been going up, especially since we were energy self-sufficient. Evidently, we're paying attention now to Saudi Arabia and the oil supply coming out of the Middle East. I thought we had put all that nonsense behind us because, as you know, oil has fueled military involvement around the world, upon which we participate, if not other countries. And it leads to bloodshed and a lot of suffering from where these battles take place. You know, it's a peeing contest. And who wins the peeing contest gets access to cheap oil. So anyway, oil prices, how bills are made, why the senator does not support free choice. We went over why free choice in a school is important, especially if you are stuck in a large city with dysfunctional school district and you have parents that for different reasons are not involved in their child's education. You are, and it's a babysitting service as such. Why can't you choose another school? Senators against that. So there were that and a few other climate change questions, chemtrails. Are we still using chemtrails to change the weather? Maybe many people don't even know what a chemtrail is. Look up in the sky, and if you see a trail of vapor, it was vapor, but now they seem to be putting aluminum particles in the air to reflect solar energy back out into space so that the temperatures here on Earth are cooler. Now, I've read different sources. Supposedly, this was a Bill Gates idea. It's been put on hold. It's full steam ahead. I don't know. It's kind of like asking vaccine questions. You don't really know where the hell you stand, who is telling you the truth, who is putting a spin on it for their own narrative or their own lucrative gain. So I can't tell you. I'm sorry. It's something you have to make your mind up on. But these are questions I would at least like to get the senator's reaction to that. All right. So we have somebody in the waiting room. I'm going to admit him in. Sorry for the wait. I just saw it. Hello, you're on the air with me, Bill Morse. What would you like to say? Hello? Okay. We're waiting for the caller. Please be patient. If you could, and you can hear my voice, just unmute whatever you're speaking into. Because I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Thanks for that fun. You should be able to hear you. Might be a fake person again.
What's that?
Might be a fake person. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway,
We'll see if they figure it out.
if you figure it out, please speak up. And who was that masked man? Anyway, I am going to close up with, I thought you would be interested in knowing. Oh, a couple of other things from 66 that I thought were interesting. Howard Johnson's, that used to be located near I-91 in Springfield, the Springfield exit. This weekend, March 24th, they're opening, 1966, they're having a fish fry for $1. Fish fry at Howard Johnson's in Springfield, all you can eat, this Friday for $1. Remember, we're in Lent, and Easter is just around the corner. And remember, we're talking March 24th, 1966. So for $1, you can feed your face with all the French fries and fried fish that you want. I think that's pretty cool. And then after that, you can have a smoke from, grab a pack out of your carton for $2.37. Drive back to Walpole and have a nice evening in your $5,000 ranch home with 1 acre of land. 1 acre of land in Walpole. You can't beat that. I'm not sure what road that's on. But anyway. And I got that out of The Shopper. The Shopper existed, to my surprise. I shouldn't be surprised. In 1966, a bit heftier. A little more news insofar as nationally carried articles. But I'm learning about the chicken cutlets, the Ryder mowers, the clam plate special that Dennis the Menace is advertising for $1.39. Again, this is in Springfield at the exit for I-91. And what the hell else? Oh, the calendar of events. Now, listen closely. This is interesting. What's going on? Calendar of coming events. This was March 24th, 1966, this coming weekend. There's going to be a teenage dance tomorrow night from 9 to 12. It's sponsored by Company B, Waterford, Vermont National Guard Unit at the Ludlow Armory in Ludlow. Music is by Maraudon, M-A-R-A-U-D-E-R-N, Maraudon. Maybe some of you have heard of that group or even went to this dance. Admission is, admission is 50 cents. That's in Ludlow, the teenage dance. Next, there's a social party this coming Saturday at the East Alstead Fire Station. Refreshments will be on sale, and the social party starts at 7 p.m. That's this Saturday at the East Alstead Fire Station, You can buy your own refreshments or bring your refreshments and keep them in the car. That's a joke. And it starts at 7. Again, this is 1966. Also, the senior high record hop is this every Saturday. Every Saturday, there's a senior high record hop at the Fall Mountain YMCA. And that's going to run on Saturday from 8 to 11. All right, so good time for a first date. And then lastly, there's a social party. A friend of mine told me they were also called lawn parties during the summer, but these are social parties, so they're indoors. The KFC, which is the Knights of Columbus, at Bellows Falls Hall. Every Monday night at 7:30, they're having a social party. So KFC Hall on the square, I imagine, every Monday night at 7:30. Now, alas, these opportunities have kind of evaporated, and the reason I brought them up is this kind of shows how you had more organizations and there was a little more activity with social events than we have now, especially after 1 year of COVID precautions. So anyway, next Thursday, we'll be back at quarter of 6. I thank you for listening. I hope to have more information from Senator Leahy. And if you have ideas or thoughts for the program, there's one thing you can do, and that is call in. And because that's why both of us are here in the studio, to take care of your calls, listen to what you have to say, let others listen to what you have to say, and give us your thoughts. This is, our country is going through a difficult time. I think the last year has been a litmus test, kind of a color-coded test to show where people are. And I think where people are is changing as they get more information, valid information. So I read some of these articles from 55 years ago to show that we are not really in a unique situation. We're just fighting the same devils that were there 55 years ago, and we haven't entirely resolved the issues. That's why they're still facing us. So I want to wish everybody a good evening, good Friday, a good weekend, and I hope that you tune back in next Thursday at 5:45 to 6:30 for another edition of What Do You Think? Thank you, and God bless.